Okay, so I'm just going to go back to my section box view there, and you can see there that I've got these interior elements, and I'd like to maybe start getting some presentation views of that area. For that I want to do some rendering, but before I can really think about rendering, I need to get some more light into this space. And so for that I want to have a shop front there, and I'm going to use the curtain wall tool for that. So I thought it'd be a good chance just to go through curtain walls. And so because I'm going to use the make the curtain wall or the shop front on both sides, I'm going to also put an opening through from one side to the other in this wall. So I'm going to unhide it and just quickly show you another handy option, which I'll use again when I make my curtain wall, and that's this opening section that you have in Revit. So on the main architecture tab there, easy one to miss, is this opening area where you have the option to put openings in all sorts of things. So you can put openings in floors and roofs using the shaft opening tool there, and then in walls using the wall opening tool. So I'm going to choose that. You need to just then select the wall you want to place your opening in, and then just click and drag to draw the shape of your opening. It's that easy. You can then select the opening and change the height in properties. And this is where it can get a little bit tricky because you need to look at the levels as well. So there I can set the base offset to 0 if I wanted to start at the height of this floor. But I might not want to see any wall at the bottom, so sometimes it's not a bad idea to have that below your floor level. So I can make the base offset minus 100. And that'll just take it down through the floor, which you can kind of see there if I highlight it. So then I've got the level above level 1 here at the top constraint, and so then I can make the height there by measuring down from that level. So I can say, well, I want to come down maybe 1100, so I'll make that minus 1100, and will be exactly that height from level 1. And I can look in the section view to see that. So I've got a section that's going through this space, but I need another one maybe to go through this lower space. So I'll click on the arrowhead to open the section, and now I can see the opening with that height really clearly showing from this level above here. Okay, so you can also change that by just typing in over that dimension. Notice how it's brought the whole thing up though, so I'd need to then just go and make that base offset minus 100 again to bring that back down. So then you have the dimensions on the side, and you can use those just like anything else to change your measurements. But again, notice how it's moved the whole thing, and this is where openings can be a bit fiddly. But again, like a lot of things in Revit, if you put in reference planes to do your measurements, it makes things much, much easier. So I can put in maybe a plane out there, and I might think, well, these lounge chairs, this one actually is probably going to move later anyway, but for now I'll just move it across and maybe get away from the wall. And then I can use the reference plane there to help plan out my space and make that maybe a better measurement, so 2500. And then if I select the opening in plan, I can use the arrow there and snap or get it close to that reference plane. Sometimes it won't snap, it's a bit funny with openings, but you can get it pretty close usually. And then there you can see it's actually not exact, but I can type in the exact measurement. So again, just by copying that reference plane for the other side, I could maybe line it up with that screen there. Well, I know that's got to move, so I'll actually move the screen this way. I've got to move that desk forward, but I'll do that in a minute. So now I can get the reference plane to snap to the screen and then try and get the opening in line with that. On the architecture tab? Yeah, the wall opening. So I did it before in a 3D view, but I can do it just as easily in a plan view. So if I go to, again, just the wall button in that opening panel, and the trick again is to select the wall first, and then click and drag to draw the rectangle to make your opening. And then I'll do the same down here. So you can do more than one opening at a time. And so now to see those openings from the outside, I'm going to go to my elevation view.
So you should do it in, not do it in plan first.
You can do it in plan if you want. It's just, yeah, it's fine to do it in plan. And then you just need to adjust the height afterwards. So I'm going to my west elevation just by double clicking on that arrowhead, but I could also have gone into the project browser to open that up.
So they're just holes.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's right. Yep. And so now, using that photo as a guide, I can stretch the sides, and I'll probably just do this by eye. Not going to be too fussy. So yeah, and so with the height there, I want to make sure that's an exact measurement. I'm going to use the arrow there just to stretch it. Oops, and I've lost it. I've got to select it again. Yeah. So yeah, the walls. Yeah, that was a double-story door. I've actually got a door family for that. No, you can use the family that I've got that'll span both the levels. It's in, I'll show you the folder, it's in a minute. So here, what I'm doing is I'm just dragging the bottom there to set the height I want roughly by eye, and then I can always go in and type in an exact measurement. So I might say, well, looks like it's about 500, and I can type that in. And then from the level above, I might make that again into a round number. But this time, okay, so I'm just going to measure from here and just show you. So from the ground floor, it's, let's say 2400 is whoops. Okay, so that might be about right, but thinking about standard door heights, chances are this is about 2100. And then that panel above looks like it's about 500 or 600. So this could be 2700. So I want to measure that from the ground floor, not from level 1. I'm just going to select the opening, and then in properties here, change the top constraint to up from ground floor, and then make the top offset 2700. So I'm measuring both the base and the top from the ground floor. And I can do the same with the other one. Okay, so that's good when it works. Now, but there's a big but. Notice how this opening isn't rectangular. It's an unusual shape, and the opening tool isn't very good for that. So I'm going to show you another way of doing an opening, which again I've shown you before, but just want to maybe emphasise it. So I'm going to delete that one, and instead I'm going to select the whole wall, and then go to Edit Profile. So you get this option with any wall you make in Revit. So if I choose Edit Profile, this is actually my preferred tool. For any opening, I use this most of the time more than the Opening tool. Opening tool is good for quick things, but to do things more precisely, this is usually a better option. So I'm simply going to draw lines now in my elevation to make the shape of my opening. So I can type in the distance, 2700, to draw a line that long. And why didn't that turn out right? What have I done there? Yeah, that's 2700. We'll check the opening in a minute. So that's right, from the ground floor. Yeah, maybe I typed in the wrong number. That's okay. So I'll just draw lines across, and yeah, 3100, that sounds about right. And then down, let's look at the photo. So, well, hopefully my sill, oh no, that's right, okay, that's the interior, that's why that's different. So, anyhow, we'll have a look at the opening in a second. So, let's say if it was 2700, and then I want to come up 500 again from the ground floor. What I could do actually is draw a line coming across, and then cancel, so that I can select the line and type in the dimension from the ground, and then just continue drawing lines to finish that off.
Sorry, you're just editing the profile.
Yeah, exactly. So it's no harder than drawing in plan once you get used to it. And so I'm going to join those lines together, but then to make it work as a wall profile, I need to take out this part of the shape. So remember, you can use split element to break the line in the middle there, and then trim to corner to join the corners on either side, and then you're left with the opening cut out. So tick to finish.
Okay, cool.
So that is a much more precise way of doing it. Like I said, the opening tool is still nice to do quick openings, but nowhere near as precise as wall profiles. So that's just the first step. Then what I really wanted to show you is curtain walls. And this is a really good technique though for things like shop fronts where you've got a complex window pattern and you don't want to go and make a window family for that, because window families, especially at the level you're at, they're quite difficult to set up. Even people who've been using Revit for quite a while, you'll find will think twice before making their own families. So for a shop front like this, I probably would use curtain wall tool 9 times out of 10. So to draw it, I'm just going to go back to the ground floor. And like I was saying, I know the heights, so I've set those precisely, and I'm going to use those now. Firstly, by going to just the regular wall tool. You can choose Walls Architectural from the menu, or click on the button at the top there, which does the same thing. And then scrolling down, now we've got a problem here. Someone has been messing around with my resolution, and I can't see all the way to the bottom. Okay, that's great. So what I'll have to do, there's another way. I can go Edit Type, and then there I can change the family here to curtain wall. You should see it in the list. You don't need to always do this. Okay, so I'm going to choose, once I've chosen curtain wall, I'm going to choose the most basic, which is actually the most long-winded name. Storefront has the framing already done for you with a pattern that's set up. But the one above, curtain wall 6mm thick glazing, is just a plain sheet of glass. And that's probably the better one to start with to learn how curtain walls work. So I'm just going to click OK. And then in properties, before I draw anything, type in my base offset, which was 500. And then I'm going to set the top constraint to unconnected. And then we know the height of this opening as well. It's 2700. So then should do the wall in between those two heights. Yeah, so I'm going to just make it easy and draw over the centre line. So by zooming in there, you can see it does snap to the centre of the wall. but then you might see the glass goes to one side of that centre line. So which side do you think the glass should go on?
Is the top offset not the height of the actual holes?
Yeah, well,
Top from the bottom?
yeah. Is this for your opening or your curtain wall?
In order to do the curtain wall.
Yeah, when you're doing, yeah.
Size, I don't know what height my window
Yeah,
is.
2700. 2700, so unconnected. If you're doing the curtain wall, set the option to unconnected for the top constraint instead of trying to choose a level. Yeah, so it's a bit different to the opening, but yeah. And
Just put one in there even though it's setting for an error. That's why I stopped doing that.
yeah,
Okay, so curtain wall. I know it's 500 off the ground.
yeah.
I don't know what.
So set the height to unconnected. The top constraint, just choose unconnected and then type in a height for the top. So it could be 2700. So as you're drawing these, you'll see that you can't set the location line. Curtain walls don't give you that option. They're always wall centre line. And then you'll see that the glass will go to one side or the other of that centre line. And so try to remember when you're making anything like a curtain wall or a window, the glass generally goes closer to the outside than the inside. And this is a common issue you'll find when you're drawing things like this in Revit. It might go onto the wrong side. So you need to remember the toggle to change it is spacebar. And that works with everything, windows, doors and walls especially. So if I draw the wall down now to the other end, click to place it, and you might get a warning about the walls overlapping. Don't worry about that. When you see warnings are just that, they're not errors, they're just giving you a warning to let you know there could be a problem, but it might be okay. You can just ignore that by closing it if you're happy with the result. And I'm going to go to my 3D view now, and you can see the glass. I'm going to change to a shaded view, and then you can maybe see the glass a little bit better, but if you go to a realistic view, it should be even clearer that we've got a glass panel in there and not in this one. So, and look, to practice with curtain walls, just like stairs, it's often a good idea just to draw one out in empty space so you can see it by itself and just get a feel for the way the tool works. Because it's easy just to draw a plain sheet of glass without anything around it. But I'll do it with the one in here just because it should be fairly easy as well. So, so once you've got the curtain wall, then the next step usually is to put in your grid lines. So you'll see that on the architecture tab you have the curtain wall tools grouped together, but the reason it's a little bit confusing is because you've got curtain system there as well. But like I was saying, you shouldn't need to use curtain system for a fair while because you're using the wall tool to make your curtain walls. And that is a better way to do it at first. But then below that you've got curtain grid and mullion, which kind of work together. So with curtain grid, you can just choose on the edge of the wall. So looking at the pattern we've got here, we've got a line in the middle, and then we've got one across, and then these two again that divide it above that. So I'll start actually with the side. So notice if I go along the bottom edge, it's going to give me a vertical grid line. If I go along the side, it'll give me a horizontal grid line. So I'm just going to move along that edge there and click a point roughly where I want that dividing element to be there, going through the middle, or going, closer to the top. You can use the dimensions again to adjust that spacing. So I can make that 1600. If you lose those, you can always press escape, and then you should be able to select the grid line again, and then again adjust those numbers. You can orbit and do everything else you need to have a look at that. And so now I'm going to go back to curtain grid, and then you can see that these other grids, or these other lines, don't extend all the way through. So I'm going to change the option here from all segments to one segment. And then I can pick, again, using the edge at the bottom, or the grid line. And it should do a pretty good job of snapping to the centre to make it even. You can always adjust the measurements afterwards if you need to. And then looking at the image again, we've got these two at the top. So again, because I've got that one segment option, I can choose the edge here. So orbiting though to see the top there will maybe make it a bit easier. So I'm just going to make sure it's finding that edge. Oh, there we go, on the grid line. Might be easier. So 840, let's make that.
I have one button that says add/remove segments, and it's greyed out.
Oh yeah, because you've selected a grid line. So just press escape to cancel that, and then go to add grid line. So that's a different thing.
So don't select anything?
Yeah, press escape to cancel, and then just go to add a new grid line. So on the architecture tab, you've got the grid line button, curtain grid. Yep. Okay, so there we are. And so I've got the basic pattern that I want. Maybe the spacing could be fine-tuned a little bit. So I can always just select one of those grid lines. Try changing those measurements. So if you have a look at, I don't know, maybe a sidler design, that's a really good thing to try. So I know because I've made a model of this building several times. Okay, so the Rise Sidler house, you could do that whole facade using this tool. And well, I've done it a few times with this exact system. And so now that I've done the grids, the final thing then is to put mullions in. So with the mullion tool, I can just pick any grid line, and it's going to put mullions in. You can use the edges as well. Oh no, sorry, I wasn't thinking before. I made the height 2700 when I needed to really make it 2200 because it takes off the bottom. That's better. That's why I couldn't pick the edge at the top. So I've just fixed that, and now back to mullion, then I can choose the top. There we go. It went through the opening because it's 2700 from the bottom of the wall, not from the bottom of the level. So yeah, I forgot that. So, and that's a good thing for you to see actually, because to change that, I need to select the whole wall. And it's a good chance just to go over selection. So if I click on the edge there, it's probably going to select the whole wall, but you might get just part of it. So I can get the mullion, that's the mullion, or possibly even the grid line. But the grid line's going to be harder now because it's under the mullion. So you can use tab to cycle through all the different elements, and there you can see now by using tab it's highlighted my grid line, and I can still select that and then adjust the spacing if I need to. So I might want these to be a little bit further to the left, so well, this one to be further to the left, so it's more like a square. It's not quite a square, but it's more square than that, so I can make that 900. You can't move the mullions. You have to move the grids to change the mullion position. So there we go. And I'll show you next week how to do different size mullions. But what I'll show you.
Or one piece, like you know how
got the vertical.
Yeah.
And then you've got the.
No. They're always going to be divided. Yeah. You can change the way they join.
Yeah.
So here you've got.
So you can't see the joint.
Yeah. So here you can go make continuous,
Oh, that's what I meant. Okay.
which will change the way it joins.
Right.
But they'll always be separate pieces. That's just the way, and it's the way they're built in real life. So here again, make continuous, and they'll change, and that's probably a better option for a wall like this. So again, here just need to choose one of the horizontals, and then you can also use this button here. Does the same thing, which is definitely definitely. Yeah, so especially that one at the bottom as well would be good. So if you can find the little button there, otherwise at the top, make continuous. Corners, yeah, it's probably not so bad, but now there, you might need to select the other one. There we go. And then, so I can do the same at the top. And you'll see later there are automatic ways of doing all of this. If you've got a huge wall with hundreds of mullions, you don't want to have to go and select each one. So there are ways of doing it en masse.
So I shouldn't do my whole warehouse with lots of little windows this way. That doesn't work very well.
No, that's right.
Do one with it.
Yes, yeah. No, so what you do is set up not a system, but you set up a wall type. Yeah. Oh, you can definitely copy and paste, yeah. Yep, you can copy it, yep. But you can also make an automatic wall so that it'll always have the same spacing between your mullions and have all of that set up in advance. Yeah. So just using the tools that I've shown you though, you can do the next one. So there, I've got this, obviously this part where the door is. So I'll go back to draw a wall. This time I'll do it from the bottom, and you can see then the glass goes the right way this time. Again, space would be fine if you have to flip it, but that's why. So if we look in 3D view now, I can then look at those properties. And so this time I'm going to make the base offset 0 and leave my unconnected height at 2700 so that it fills up the whole opening. But remember, we've got this part here that we've got to cut away. So you've got two options. You could use curtain grids to do it, or just remember, curtain walls are just like normal walls, and you've got the option to use edit profile with those as well. And so with edit profile, you can use this option. This is great when you're working with profiles. Pick lines, and you can pick a surface like this, and it's going to project it onto the plane you're drawing on. So it's the same there. Right, so it's going to sit exactly on that wall, and then I can just trim to join these together, and I've cut out that part of the wall. Tick to finish, and now I can have a look at my drawing again. So there, we've got a slightly complicated arrangement, but it's not that hard with a curtain wall. So again, using curtain grid. And I'm going to just choose the grid line I want here, trying to get it on the edge there. If it won't go, don't worry, because you can use the align tool to bring it across. So I can choose this edge and then my grid to line it up exactly. And we actually need to bring it across anyway because it's got the mullion. You can see there going all the way down. So, okay, so if I select that grid line now, it's 1500. I know the mullion is, you can see over here, it's 50 by 150. So that means it's 50 wide. So little trick there, I can make this opening 1475. So I've taken off half the opening, half the mullion width. And so I'm just going to quickly put a mullion in there. Right, you can see now that lines up exactly. And So a lot of these things you'll work out as you go, and then with the grid line at the top there, I can again just make the spacing the same as I had on the other one, which I've forgotten, so I'm just going to check that. So what was it? Oh, well, yeah, 550 in the end, so I can select that now and just type that in. And then just want to put a mullion on there. And one on the other side. I'll do the rest later, but I just wanted to show you one last option, just to really, even if you don't get it done straight away, just so you can see what you can do with curtain walls. Because we obviously have a door there. And so once you realise that curtain walls can have doors in them, it'll open up a lot of possibilities as well. So I've shown you that you have the curtain wall object, which you can get usually just by clicking on the edge of the wall. Then you have, I suppose, the sub-objects within it. You've got the grids, which we've looked at. You've got the mullions, which you can select as well. And you can see that one was a 50 by 150. But then you also have the panels. So the panels at first will be glass. And if you go onto the edge of any panel, you can press Tab until it highlights just that panel. Click to select it, and then you can change that to something else. So here I could change it to a solid panel, or you can actually choose any wall as well. So I can make it a brick wall if I wanted to for some reason. So that opens up a lot of possibilities. But we want a door. And this is one of those great things about Revit. Like I said, it's a good program most of the time, but sometimes it's got these little bugs, and this is one of them. If you go to Edit Type, it should have this load button active. You should be able to load in panels, but you can't at first. It's just a bug. So to fix it, what you have to do is just go to the Insert tab and then Load Family.
So we go out of the
Yep.
type.
Yep, yep. And then you'll find in the library there's a curtain wall panels folder. And if you look there, it's got all of these pre-made curtain wall doors. So I'm just going to choose any. This isn't the one I want. I just want to load in something just to show you how to fix that problem. So I'm going to just double click on any, it doesn't matter which one. And now watch what happens if I go and use Tab to select my panel. And then this time again, when I go to Edit Type, now the load button's working. And it'll work from that point onwards. You just got to do it the first time. And I could choose the family that I've loaded, that single door. Click OK. There it is. But I don't want the single door. So I'm going to go back to Edit Type, Load, and go back to Curtain Wall Panels and choose the one I want, which is probably this one. It's the closest. Yep, so I'll just choose that one. Or maybe actually, sorry, this one's even closer. So double click, click OK. There it is. If you go into Plan View, it'll look just like a normal door. So it probably opens inwards, so I can select it and flip it just like any other door. Back into the 3D view. And it's basically the same, but it has probably moved a little bit. So there we are. That might just give you some ideas about what you can do with curtain walls. You can use them for lots of different things, but you know, shop fronts and things like that, they're really useful. So we'll see how we go for time. I might be able to do a little bit of rendering tonight. We're running late on time, so maybe because you've got some more time, we can do that next week. But don't forget, we've got to do topo surfaces and a few other things as well before the holidays. So a few more things to look at, but hopefully that'll give you some more ideas.